The money fight was 3 weeks ago, but I've found it a real tricky one to comment on. You can see why if you just look at this thumbnail. I made that right after the fight. I mean, can we just take a second to appreciate how ridiculous this shit is? What the fuck was I thinking? You know, when you get to the stage that McGregor is clinking glasses with God himself after a loss, yeah, I might as well have had McGregor walking on fucking water. Clearly the mistake I was making was trying to make this fight more than it actually was. I just assumed that because of the magnitude of the occasion and the historic nature of the fight, this must have been epic. But over the last couple of weeks, I just could not connect those dots. Now, I can't fault the fight. It delivered in the capacity the matchup could deliver, in that it was interesting and exciting. McGregor has hardly had a boring fucking second in the octagon, and now we can say the same about the boxing ring. A lot of people are giving Mayweather that credit. You know, Mayweather made the fight exciting to repay his fans for the Pacquiao fight. And if you believe that, fine. Personally, I don't think Floyd gives a flying fuck about entertaining the fans. If I had to guess, I'd say he felt huge pressure, not only to win, but to finish McGregor, and realized that the surest way to wear him out was by walking his man down. I won't argue though, the fight delivered. The first 3 rounds were brilliant. McGregor looked great. But when the ref finally stepped in, it just brought me back to my very first thought when the fight was announced. A world-class boxer outboxed a non-boxer in a boxing match for $300 million. And as much fun as the whole thing was, I just can't make more out of it than that. You certainly can't go from that to this bullshit. I hate to be the negative asshole after an exciting fight, but honestly, the matchup just never really caught my imagination. Not the way I expected. I mean, we all knew that this was a mixed martial artist versus a boxer, but MMA wasn't sending any ordinary representative into the ring. It was sending an infuriating, intimidating ball of pure, unpredictable Irish madness, notorious for his routine verbal and psychological destruction of opponents. And that's where I was hoping Conor might muddy the water and sell me on the fight. If the opening bell was the biggest moment we were all waiting for, the second biggest had to be Floyd's first real encounter with the mouth of Conor McGregor. And that moment came in Toronto. After the bloody battle of the Monster Energy drinks with Nate Diaz, John Kavanagh told a story that he was concerned about McGregor's temperament. He was about to try to calm Conor down, but before he could open his mouth, Conor calmly stated, "The illusion of insanity is over. Now it's time for the game plan." Well, in Toronto, McGregor once again treated the crowd to an hour inside the mind of an enraged, unhinged lunatic, with the most explosive take-no-prisoners tirade I've ever seen at a press conference. Just glorious fucking trash talking. For me, there was 2 big moments in that one. When the producers decided to mute Conor in LA, they inadvertently lit the fuse on a powder keg that exploded the following afternoon, right in Steven Espinosa's face.
And while we're at it, fuck Showtime too! You little weasel! Look at you, you little fucking weasel! I can see it in your eyes! You're a fucking bitch!
Vicious. By going after Espinosa rather than Floyd, he was sending a clear message. Do not fuck with me, because there is nowhere I will not go. I'll go after suits in a ruthless fucking manner. I'll leave a trail of executives in my wake. I mean, it was excessive, almost cruel. But he got that message across. They weren't fucking with his mics after that. And crucially, the illusion of insanity was more vivid than ever. I mean, I've watched every press conference McGregor's ever done, and somehow he even managed to outdo himself with that shit. I mean, that was fucking crazy. The second was more typical of McGregor.
When I count to 3, I want this entire arena to scream, "Fuck the Mayweathers!" 1, 2, 3, fuck the Mayweathers!
Jesus Christ. On the surface, it might have seemed a little unnecessary or below the belt. I mean, I could sign off on fuck Floyd Mayweather, but fuck the whole family tree. He was going for blood. This was typical apex predator psychological warfare. Conor was just up in those stakes. It's hard to imagine an occasion too big, any lights too bright for Floyd Mayweather. But as we've seen, Conor can turn the heat up in other ways, change the whole context of the bout for his opponent, where it's not just another fight, it's about defending those few things you truly hold sacred. The last time McGregor brought his A-game like this was against Jose Aldo, and the effects were undeniable. Bend, buckle, and break. I mean, I didn't expect Floyd to just crumble, but Jesus Christ, let's see how the guy handles that. Well, moments after Conor stomped Floyd into the ground and thousands of fans defecated on the Mayweather family name, Floyd just strolled into this interview. Wanted to be there. No signs of lingering stress. No sense of any preoccupation with the brutal public molestation. He was calm, cool, and completely present. Fully engaged in the questions coming his way. Zero intensity. Now, I can only speak for myself, but that repeated night and day contrast between the visceral onstage animosity and the way both fighters reflected on the onstage animosity gradually transformed the press tour from psychological warfare into pure theater. More so than almost any fight I've ever seen, both competitors appeared to regard the fight promotion as just that. Just fight promotion. We're just selling a fight here.
It seemed like Conor McGregor said, okay, I got to come out guns a-blazing for round two. What were your thoughts?
It's entertaining, you know. We giving the fans and the people what they want to see and what they want to hear. You know, I'm a little hoarse because shouting loud, screaming loud, a lot of trash talking, but we giving the people what they want to see and what they want to hear.
I'm going to say, do you think anybody's actually taken anything from this in terms of a psychological battle? Has anyone got an advantage?
I don't. It's been just fun, I think, for both. I mean, I think it's been fun. From my end, I've had a hell of a lot of fun. I've enjoyed every stop. Everyone was uniquely different as well, which is very good. It was like we became not prize fighters anymore. We became something else, but now it's good. I mean, it was enjoyable, but it's good to be back to doing what we do best.
It honestly seemed to me that the two men who cared least about the onstage shit flinging were the two men on stage flinging shit, laughing all the way to the bank. Now, there were times where I thought Floyd looked uncomfortable. The race card was probably the weakest moment in the build-up. But my point is not that Floyd never felt like an ant under a magnifying glass. It's that early on, I got this strong sense he could handle it. That although Conor didn't meet his trash-talking equal, he did meet a mind capable of just dealing with it and getting on with the show. For Jose Aldo, McGregor was an inescapable nightmare. There was backstage footage of him looking like a man on the brink of a nervous breakdown. For Floyd, this was business, salesmanship. Let's just give the fans what they want to see. These press conferences were great, entertaining as fuck, but ultimately not enough to make a believer out of me. I don't think the boxing rap battle format helped. Bit too staged for my liking. We never got to see real free-flowing verbal warfare. And the size of the crowds made them very impersonal. They seemed like performances. Long story short, I never thought Floyd was breaking, which meant that this fight was still just a boxing contest. And that was always a hard sell for me. So Floyd stepped into Conor's domain and held up well in my opinion. It just remained to see how Conor would look stepping into Floyd's domain. That's one thing you gotta give McGregor full credit for. You just cannot fuck with this guy's confidence. I mean, the most memorable entrance I've ever seen was Conor's walkout for UFC 194. We all know the stakes. Title unification, biggest fight of his career against the greatest pound-for-pound fighter on the planet. Insane build-up, world tour, tons of shit talk, one of the most hyped fights ever. But the magnitude of the occasion didn't rattle McGregor, because McGregor has ice in his fucking veins. His walkout and pre-fight demeanor was straight up mind-boggling, to the point that if this was a movie, you'd assume the actor was exaggerating the nonchalance. I was gonna put this in a separate video, but a lot of people are speculating that after the massive Mayweather payday and considering his full awareness of brain injuries, Conor probably won't be fighting much longer. And I agree with that. But think about this. You've probably heard people's number one fear is public speaking, which is basically performing the most rudimentary task, usually in front of a group of friends or colleagues. It's a completely safe environment. Terrifies the fuck out of people. Now, it's obviously not the speaking that frightens people. It's the simple fact that you've added an audience. Oh no. What if you make a fool out of yourself in the low stakes, limited capacity you can make a fool out of yourself by stumbling over a couple of fucking words? It just goes to show the anxiety people associate with real-time judgment. But there are those occasions where, for whatever reason, perfect preparation, natural ability, just some inexplicable aberration in your physiology that day, you feel completely confident in a situation you normally wouldn't. You don't feel the weight of people's judgment. You know you're gonna nail that shit. And that liberation from the expected anxiety, that's a powerful fucking feeling. And the execution becomes a joy rather than a nightmare. It's a natural high. If that was a drug, I would snort the fuck out of it. Now, try to place yourself in McGregor's shoes here. He's not doing public speaking. The guy is stepping into the most unpredictable environment. A fucking fist fight with a trained killer. Nothing safe about it. Forget about embarrassment. Things go wrong here, he's looking at a serious head injury. Compounding that pressure for McGregor is his ability to generate an absurd amount of attention. Focus the minds of millions of people on a single point in time. Create unimaginably high stakes. A situation where the entire combat sports world loses its fucking mind. And when the moment of truth finally arrives, the man at the center of the maelstrom of insanity who orchestrated the whole frenzy is the calmest motherfucker in the room. And the subsequent execution was as close to perfection as you're ever likely to get. I don't know what the greatest knockout of all time is, but from here to here has to be the most ice-cold bad motherfucker moment in UFC history. And despite all the pressure and the eyes of the world, Conor relished every second. If you watch the guy's pre-fight demeanor, the whole thing just looks like destiny manifesting in front of your eyes. Now, try walking away from that. At this point, I think Conor's ability to walk away from the sport depends at least in part on the extent to which he's addicted to that rush, because it looks fucking addictive. If Conor McGregor epitomizes anything, it is creating and performing in huge high-stakes scenarios. And when he emerged for Floyd, where again he had talked monstrous amounts of shit, his mouth had written colossal, almost uncashable checks in a completely new sport, and amid a dismissive 2-month media chorus of "you are gonna get embarrassed, you do not belong here, you haven't earned your shot, you won't land a punch, you're a fucking caveman," McGregor emerged looking ready. Not quite 194 ready, but the guy was calm and ready to fucking go. You gotta applaud the ballsiness of the guy. He doesn't win every fight, but it really seems that there's just no occasion too large, no curveball too awkward, no circumstance is ever gonna rattle McGregor's confidence. When the opening bell rang, he began to execute like a man who truly believed, "I am boxing." 3 rounds in, and it honestly seemed like McGregor had been using more performance-enhancing pseudoscience. Through the power of visualization and quantum mumbo-jumbo, he had dragged the sports world into an alternate universe, where he was ahead 30-27 on my scorecard. I was shocked. When that big uppercut landed in the first, I'd imagine boxing purists were like,
"Now, we are fucked."
We're out of here.
Conor's athleticism and unorthodox style seemed to give Floyd issues early on. I had always thought that if MMA striking is a game of inches, boxing is a game of millimeters. But some of McGregor's counters in this fight were outstanding, sharp as fuck. That was as good as it was gonna get for Conor, though. Floyd changed gears in the fourth, and it quickly emerged that Conor's early success, impressive as it was all within the parameters of a game plan Floyd executed masterfully. Walk Conor down, put him on the back foot, wear him out, and gradually drown him. When Floyd started teeing off, he was throwing some big fucking shots. There was still a couple competitive rounds, but Floyd just chopped him down until the ref had no chance but to rescue an exhausted McGregor, who was now eating shots without a solid defense. Good stoppage in my opinion. McGregor was very likely about to take a sustained beating for as long as his legs would carry him. Good fight, great to see Conor rise to the occasion and Floyd retire on a high. I think it was Brendan Sharp who said it was the perfect result, and I think he meant it was an entertaining fight where neither sport got embarrassed. I agree with that. But, and I can only speak for myself here, when the ref stepped in the 10th, there was a sense that the result had been almost inevitable, self-evident all along. I thought, Yeah, pretty much what I expected. McGregor did well early on. Floyd figured out his style, wore him down, and surprise, surprise, the world-class boxer ultimately outboxed his opponent. So even though I enjoyed the fight, in retrospect, I'm almost more impressed by the whole MayMac phenomenon, and the fact that they even pulled it off on that scale. I mean, it's easy to simplify in retrospect, but think about what they just did. Floyd Mayweather came out of retirement to earn $300 million against an 0-0 MMA fighter, while Conor McGregor is like the gladiator who won his own freedom. He not only became the first mixed martial artist to make $100 million, as Lorenzo predicted, he likely did so in a single night's work, in a boxing ring, and in association with McGregor Promotions. All this for a fight that on paper should never have even been a contest. I think what the whole world really witnessed was these two motherfuckers playing chess while everyone else is playing checkers. You gotta give him credit for that. McGregor for his initial vision and his belief that he could overcome the contractual obstacles to bring the fight into reality, and the power of both men to orchestrate a near-hysterical media frenzy, and their otherworldly ability to thrive under that pressure as the stakes became unimaginably high. It was big business from two sharks. They called it the money fight. It seemed like a money fight, but hey, at least we did get our money's worth.